Hello everyone, this is Serious Trivia, and welcome back to another episode of the speculation series for the next Three Kingdoms title from Creative Assembly. So in our last episode, we had a quick discussion about traits. And today I want to continue discussion on character design, especially with skill trees and the class system that are currently in the game. Right now, there are 5 standard classes of characters represented by the 5 phases, or the 5 elements of metal, fire, water, wood, and earth, as are many other things in the game. And each class has a semi-unique skill tree that contains 15 skills, with a level cap at 10 and 2 starting skills plus 2 skill points at rank 10. We could get 13 out of the 15 skills. Now all of this is fine, but I think it can be a lot better. While the theme of the 5 phases is a nice unifying motif in the game, I think the class system for generals should be removed in the new title, simply because the differences are too arbitrary. Even the game's own descriptions of these classes seems lacking, as champions are not the best duelists in the game, as they will lose handily to sentinels. And vanguards are not the best class at fighting hordes of enemy troops, as their low health and even lower morale often mean they are the first ones to rout in prolonged fights. In addition, some of the key distinguishing elements of character strength comes largely from items such as weapons, more than anything else in the game to determine a character's combat capabilities. So I believe it's far better to remove the class system entirely, as it is also very difficult to pigeonhole certain characters into certain class archetype based on their historical or romance portrayals. For example, while Zhou Yu is often shown as this pretty boy strategist, he was also very much a frontline fighter too. And this is a super common problem with strategists in the game, as historically speaking during this period, there are very few non-combatant generals and pure strategists, as even the likes of Sun Yu got their hands dirty in the early days of Cao Cao's rise. So to avoid this problem entirely, I believe the next title should actually adopt a Warhammer-like skill tree system with a much higher level cap used for all characters. Now, instead of relying on arbitrary preset class setups, developers can use the 5 core stat to influence your decision on how to build out your character. Unit recruitment, which is another huge distinguishing factor in the class system that we have right now, can be moved to the skill tree, where you can unlock skills that give you access to different types of units. This way, not every army will need a strategist in order to get trebuchets for siege battles. And like Warhammer, there can be distinct themed roles of skills that focus on different things for each character based on their historical or romance portrayal. For example, the first role are active and passive skills that are unique to a particular character due to historical or romance events. This is reserved for characters with unique models and will replace the current background title system, as the current system is pretty bad for generic characters, as they're just randomly assigned titles that makes no sense for certain historical characters that are important but unfortunately have not gotten a model yet, with Yang Xiu coming to mind as he is a rogue even though he comes from one of the most prestigious clans in China during the time. And in essence, this entire first role is where you will find all your unique active and passive abilities for battle, for generals who are known for their battlefield exploits, or they'll get these passive commandery or administrative bonuses due to their reputation and history as a great administrator. And this will also influence how you will build out your character the rest of the way in different skills in the roles below. And speaking of those roles, the second role will be a personal stat upgrade role where you can customize your character's strength by adding raw stats to the 5 attributes in a very similar manner as the Nanman system right now. And in addition to that, you can also get percentage bonus to attack, armor, attack speed, evasion, and any other personal stats to your liking. And perhaps even the willingness to spy and the effectiveness at spying can also be included here. Next, the third role will be related to retinue recruitment, where you will have skills unlocking different types of advanced unit, including faction unique units, which were quite similarly locked behind a character's rank before. Then moving on to the fourth role, we'll have all the unit and army bonuses, where instead of boosting yourself, you're boosting your own retinue or your own army by giving your units armor piercing damage or extra ammo or extra firing rate or extra morale, which are pretty similar to some of the skills we currently find on the limited skill tree that we have. And lastly, for the fifth and final role, we'll get all the Prime Minister, Governor, Administrator bonuses for those characters who are not destined for the battlefield. So at the end of the day, by setting up the skill tree in this manner, everyone in the game, whether you are female or male, are going to be starting out quote-unquote non-deployable. Now, when I say non-deployable here, I don't mean they can't be summoned as a single general and fight, as I've been made aware that most players, at least those who left a comment in the female non-deployable video, that they prefer to have the freedom to play as anyone they wish in the game. So when I say non-deployable here, I just mean that without the proper skills to unlock unit recruitment, they cannot be summoned to lead armies, but still retain the capability to be single entity general stacks, which I think is a pretty neat way to customize the characters in your faction. Now you can invest all your skill points to have someone be a purely military focused character with strong personal stats, a wide variety of unit recruitment options, and strong army bonuses. Or likewise, you can invest the points in all the natural stat attributes to boost their bonuses you get from those stats, as well as some administrative bonus on the skill tree, so someone becomes a strong administrator. And the first role of unique skills that reflect a character's historical contributions can be your guide on how to best utilize this character. For example, the historically incorruptible Maojie can have a skill in the first role that gives the additional 30% corruption reduction to local commandery, which is part of his background title right now. And seeing this on the skill tree, you might be naturally inclined to continue to build him out as an optimal administrator, like he was in history, but you can also turn him into a capable duelist that commands cavalries, if you wish. Certainly, it might not be optimal, but giving the extra freedom to players to play the game whichever way they want, I believe will be appreciated by the vast majority of the players. In addition, for those who had worried that I had fallen off the gender equality cliff with my earlier episode on making all female generals non-deployable, I think this skill tree system, where the unit recruitment role for them can be replaced by family bonus for spouse and kids. And while they can't recruit any units, you can still deploy them as single entities on the battlefield if you wish. And before anyone argues that losing out on 6 units for an army is quite detrimental, I also believe the current 6 retinue per general system for 3 generals to an army is quite illogical and should be removed. There should be skills in the unit recruitment role that increases the number of retinue any one general can recruit. And while I believe the number of generals in any given army should still be hard capped, maybe not to 3, but perhaps to 4 or 5 to make the game a little bit more interesting. But the number of retinues you can bring can be capped to 20, like most Total War games, except they can be spread out across any number combinations between the generals to allow for more flexible armies. And this also opens the doors for certain types of army, let's say yellow turbans, which historically relied on hordes of peasants and not good generals, to end up with armies led by fewer generals with bigger retinues of peasants in their army. Of course, implementing all these new mechanics in the game can be difficult, especially with teaching the AI how to interact with these complicated systems in an intelligent manner, as I believe most of the systems in the current games are being kept dumbed down on purpose in order to simplify things for the AI. But unfortunately, this is also why we see bad unit compositions in AI armies and awful skill tree choices by the AI generals. But hopefully these things can be improved on for the new game over time. or at the very least provide a skill reset button for the players so they can rebuild new characters acquired from the AI factions in later periods of the game. But at the end of the day, I feel like getting rid of the class system that's currently used for most of the Han generals and adding a skill tree that is slightly more complex with more level caps to allow for more diverse customizations will vastly improve the game. And that's going to do it for this episode. As always, I would love to hear from you all about the suggested changes in the comment section below, and I will see you all next time as we'll shift the discussion to items. Until then, bye!